Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Board No Game video. Today's video is dedicated to a gear list guide. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's jump right into it. So if you're going to partners, one of the first pieces of gear that I want us to focus on is going to be your main hand weapon and your accessory. And before we look at this tier list, just note this is based off of, KR and Taiwan and China. I believe this is where these tier lists are coming from. And we're just going to be looking at weapons for now really quick, and we'll look at others, going forward in the video. I want us to look at this Dragon's Howl really quick. What is this weapon? And I'll have links down below for pretty much, all the images that you're going to be seeing. Dragon Howl increases your attack by plus 1% and your crit rate plus 2% while in battle. So it won't show it while your character, is just like having gear on, right? So what does this really tell you? Is going to be really difficult. Most of all, I want to remind you that SSR gear is going to be insane to upgrade, right? Because it is going to require some resources. So for example, in order to upgrade this wine swaying glass, I need this SSR enhancement stone. Where do you get these stones? If you go into shop and then you go into the exchange section, you can actually see them. Let's just confirm right there. You go to gear, this is where you're going to be getting them. This is quite possibly one of the most valuable resources, and you should only buy these because dupes are insanely important, because the other way to get dupes is, from random drops, which is very unreliable. And just note, in the limited time shop, there is a pack that gives it for $50 and one pack that gives it for $100. So you can tell, like, these items are going to be quintessential for upgrading because their values are going to be insane. And then of course, if you look in the Halloween event, by the way, I have some stuff about this. Okay, confirm, cool, thanks. It's actually going to be one of the later items on day 8. Just note that there's a discount that occurs every 2 days for these items. So for example, this SSR Knight's chest, it will disappear after 7 hours. And you will never see it again, I believe. So feel free to correct me in the comments down below. Just really quick, so the hero chest, because it has a weapon, the summoning ticket's gonna be worth it, the honor gem's gonna be worth it, Edward gem if you want him, the SSR accessory set, and then everything else is kind of get it if you want to. You can get these too if you want. But for the most part, there's expiration on the discounts. So now that we have that out of the way really quick for the Halloween stuff, let's talk about gear again. So when it comes to this SSR gear, it's going to be difficult to upgrade. And I would say you can upgrade one of these fully once a month as a free-to-play player. Obviously, your results will vary as a dolphin and as a whale, right? So looking at this, I say it's roughly accurate, right? It's not completely accurate because I have another tier list right here that conflicts with it. This is, I believe, the Taiwan Chinese one, and this has Dragon Howl at number 1, and it puts this other sword, like Butterfly Hunter, there it is, it increases damage by 1% while in battle and deals additional damage to the leader. So you could say that's, more consistent, but the thing is crit rate is really important in this game. And you'll note that the Bloodsucker sword is actually rated T1, and on this tier list, Bloodsucker sword is actually rated at T2. Just note that T0 is the highest placement for a weapon. Rosa is another good weapon that you get for free within the game, this one right here. And it increases your defense and block rate. And the other weapon that's actually shown, the little block right there, the Staff of Hope, is actually pretty good because it has reflect rate. This is more of I guess you could say a DPS tank weapon, and this is more of a raw, actual tank weapon. And personally, I'm not going to focus on tanks too much because I can't afford to run that build. I feel like tank setups in Illusion Connect require a little bit more investment because the gear is more high-end, because you can't just tank an opponent based off of not decent gear, right? So now that we've looked at weapons, this wand in particular is actually pretty good. It's just raw AoE and attack up. And there's other weapons that are decent, but for the most part, something like Bone Crusher is not really that great because it's effect hit and it's just attack percentage. It's just not as great. Durandal is okay, but you know, it only increases damage rate to like a taunted enemy. Not everyone's going to be a taunted. HP max as a defender weapon, you know, that's okay, but for the most part I would say Rosa and Staff of Hope are like your much better alternatives for defender weapons. So let's jump into other things, because this actually has more information on it. Feel free to look at armor if you want. The one to the left hand side is actually pretty good because it has reflect on it, and I think reflect is one of the most valuable pieces of armor because reflect gets really OP. That's why Camille, one of the partners in the game, is actually pretty good. And these are going to be the boots, right? And I believe like the only one that's really valuable is the Sakura like boot, just because the Sakura boot actually increases your crit power. I've shown it before, but pretty much like this is an actual DPS shoe. Most of the other shoes, like for example, there was another one that's an SR, it's probably not going to be here, but pretty much it increases crit rate if you are on the, like, you know, lower end of the spectrum for dealing damage. Oh yeah, it's right here, this one. So this one's pretty decent as well if you want to pick it up as an SR weapon. Just note that it's, you know, rated much lower on this tier list, alright? So, you know, judge how you will. I just want to provide these resources, right? Next thing is going to be the accessories, because this is gonna be the most important thing as a DPS, right? The accessories, they don't really talk about it on these lists specifically, but for the most part, I have to say I somewhat agree. Specifically for this swaying wine glass, because this swaying wine glass, I have like a copy of it on my main character, on Miyuki specifically, but pretty much it increases your attack and also increases lifesteal. So it helps any character, you know, become pretty much tankier, but most of all, it has attack percentage. That's what you're really looking for. You know, of course it has like the attack main stat as an accessory, because that's why you want it, but I don't believe a lot of attack or accessories actually have the attack capability on them. This one's interesting, but it's only, you know, attack plus 1%, and when attacking Guardian class, armor penetration increases by 5%. That's actually really cool. I think I would actually like that, but it would probably be better on a Sork, for example. And then this one's actually really good on summons, because, you know, while the eye patch increases your summon damage. And then this one's really cool because it increases damage to healing and light classes. Specifically, you know, I would say take this tier list with a grain of salt, like, because there's so many other things in this game. Like this one, you deal more damage when the enemy has less than 30% health. And then like this one is like attack plus 1%, death increases of one random ally unit by 2%. I'm not sure what that means. That one's kind of weird. This reverse blade is not like ideal, just because I would rather have attack percentage, because this just causes splatter damage, which is alright, but no offense, if you're an attacker, I just want you to focus on, you know, single target damage. That's just my personal opinion, right? So next thing, we've seen like the weapons and some pretty much all the armors and stuff like that, and the shoes. Let's look at actual gear sets. So this one is actually a really good example of how an attack-based single target character should look like. And the reason why is we've seen Dragon How pretty much it increases attack and crit rate. Let's look at that armor piece in particular. That armor piece actually increases your damage based off of the, you know, if you're hit. So Scarlet Curious, this is the armor piece that we were just looking at. It's rare in the sense that it actually increases your attack while you're not half dead. The other version of this is, I believe, like this kimono thing, which is what I'm wearing on Pan. And this one, it only works if I'm 50% below health. This one works right off the bat as long as you're hit, so I feel like it has way more value. So this is something that an attacker would want, and I really dig this costume, right? So this is something that you would like to see on your attacker. Now this set in particular is kind of interesting because we've seen the wand. The wand pretty much, you know, increases like AoE damage, it increases like attack stat, like it's okay. But the thing is I have this lava suit, and if you look at the other tier list, this lava suit's actually rated pretty low. So it's like kind of like a tanky caster set because they're using like the life force, you know, accessory, this, that, and the third. So that's kind of interesting that they're looking at it that way. Plus that shoe in particular also increases like HP. So I'm not sure like why are they wearing that shoe in particular. You know, it also increases like the defense. This is like a caster like tank setup. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe that character is good at it. I haven't used that one in particular. So, you know, feel free to run that if you want to run that. This looks like a very optimal healer set you can actually get this watch in particular for free in story. And that watch is actually really good because it increases your overall heal rate. So I would suggest, like, you know, if you see this, you know, and you want like a really good healer, then put this on your healer, right? And I believe you get at least 1 copy for free, so that's pretty amazing of itself. Now this is like a defender set, and I would say this is more of like a raw, like just defense set. And note like their stats, right? For example, this is Camille, the other half, and this is all level 1 gear, but this is what it would look like to essentially run a reflect build, because this weapon reflex, this armor piece reflex, and I'm not sure if these 2 armor pieces reflect, but there's a piece of me that really wants to say that they do. Let's look really quick just for the sake of it. This one restores HP. Yeah, that seems really good. That's kind of crazy that they even have that as a thing. Holy Crown grants 2% HP shield. Yeah, that's crazy good. So that's like a super tank build right there. That's super amazing. I'm not sure if, like, you know, you can run like this hardcore like defense setup, but this one seems like it almost self-sustains and damages. That's an interesting, like, you know, gear set. This is probably more for like the summon allies. This weapon is, I believe, the only like SSR like summon weapon that's somewhat decent. So, but the thing is I don't think it's the best, just because all it does is increase attack and 1% max HP to a summoned unit. But the thing is summons are meant to die. So yeah, it's not the best weapon. I think summons in this game get the short end of the stick. And then here's another build for, you know, attacker set. Now I don't think Hershey's, like, you know, outfit is really that good. It would be much better. Like, yeah, this one increases like defense and block resistance, right? And you don't really need that on an attacker, but I think they're just wearing this just to show off if they wanted their Kasumi to last longer, because you'll notice that they're wearing the lifesteal, you know, pretty much accessory, and then they have this one that's also, this is like a leader killer set, right? These are like the sets that you can equip, sort of. I really want us to focus on, you know, something more along the lines of this, and I'm not saying you mimic this entire build. I want us to see the entire story, where pretty much this piece of gear increases your attack, this piece of gear increases your attack when you are hit, this piece of gear increases your crit rate, this one increases your attack and your lifesteal. There's a story behind why they're wearing these parts of gear, because they synergize in the sense of increasing attack and somewhat sustaining the character to last a little bit longer. Links down below if you want to check it out for the tier list. But pretty much, like, don't get hell bent on like, if I don't get this gear, I'm not good enough to play the game. Just note that it requires more planning on resources, is why I'm providing this. So if you do see this weapon in the future, you know, for example, if you somehow pull Dragon's Howl out of nowhere, then you know that that's going to be a decent weapon to invest in. All right, pretty much that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, let me know your thoughts on this tier list. I don't wholeheartedly agree with it because we're very early. I just want this to be a reference. But anyways, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you in the next one.